Hello and welcome to Stitch in Time. Today is Thursday, May 3rd, 2018, and this is episode 58. My name is Carol and I am known as Knits and Pearls on Ravelry. The show notes for this and every episode can be found on the blog and also in the episode thread in the Ravelry group. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you can do so via private message on Ravelry or by leaving me a comment on YouTube, and I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. Hi everyone, welcome. Thanks for joining me today. It's another beautiful sunny day here in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, Canada. We've had some rain this past week, but it's back to sunshine and it's supposed to last all the way through the weekend. So I am quite enjoying this spring, lovely spring weather. The dogwoods are all in bloom now. I've noticed quite a variety as I've been taking my walks in the morning, and we have a pink one in our front yard that is in full bloom, and it's really pretty. I just wish the blossoms of the trees would last longer. You can already see a lot of different varieties are starting to fade and the petals falling, but you know, that's just the way it is, right? So we enjoy it while we can. You'll see from my beginning footage that I've been doing a little bird watching lately. The first clip is of a female house finch picking the lining out of our old barbecue cover. It was old and cracked, and I guess that looked like perfect nesting material. So the house finch, I just caught my eye. She was out there one day, and then the male bright red scarlet male came along, and you notice you just watched her work, and then they flew off together into the sunset and to build their nest, I assume. And then I finally managed to get some footage, clear footage of the goldfinch. That bright yellow is the male. The females are kind of an olivey green. And then the other night I was doing dishes, and something caught my eye out in the back field, and at one time there were 4 rabbits chasing each other around the field, and they were kept it up for, I think, about a half an hour. So it was quite entertaining to watch them. They'd kind of disappear in the long grass, and then you'd see them come racing out again, and anyway, it was kind of cool. We've seen rabbits back there before, and we've even seen them in our backyard. But I don't know if I've ever seen more than 1 at a time, and certainly never 4. So that was just kind of a cool moment, and that I was able to catch at least a little bit for you to share with you. So a fair bit of knitting that got done this past week, plus a project that has been weighing on my conscience for quite a while, and I managed to accomplish that yesterday, so I'll share that with you too. So, well, in honor of goldfinches, why don't we start with my first finished project, which are my goldfinch socks. Aren't they pretty? So they are made from West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply, and this is color 840 Goldfinch. Now, this is a British yarn, and the colors, I meant to mention this last week, the colors in this yarn are reminiscent of the European goldfinch. As I mentioned, or as you can see, our goldfinches, American goldfinch, are this bright yellow, and then, as I said, the females are like an olivey green, and in the winter time the males look a lot like the females. They lose this nice bright color. That's more for like breeding times to attract a mate. So I had the matching cinnamon stick, cayenne pepper, and butterscotch yarns in my stash. So I thought it would be fun to incorporate them throughout the sock. And so where I had begun the ball, it actually had begun with the cinnamon stick, and so it seemed like a logical color to start the cuff with. And then I made it work out so that the heel coincided with this red stripe. And I knew from other socks I've knit in the West Yorkshire Spinners yarn, I was pretty sure I was going to be able to end with this yellow. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with how they turned out. They were fun to work on because they're nice, fun, bright colors, and I just really like how they, just the fun fun changing up the heels, cuffs, and toes. Usually I'll pick one color to complement and stick with that. But yeah, just why not? I could, so I did. So yeah, that's I finished those actually this morning. Last night I got as far as the toes on both of them while I was watching TV, and I made a point of finishing them up so I could share them with you today. So there we go. And then I have one more finished project. You might guess what it is if you've been watching. I finished my Impressionist shawl. I'm going to cover up my face so you can see it all at once. This thing is huge. It is my wingspan, which I'm 5'3", plus at least another 1, 2, 3 feet. It's enormous. It's enormous. It's almost too big to wrap up. I mean, it's not really long. I mean, it's not. It's a good length. That's the back side. It's a decent length, but it is super long. So if I wrap it this way, I have plenty to wrap it around me and then cross it back and tie it in the back. So it's, yeah, it's huge. I guess I haven't really played with it much. I just took it off the blocking boards this morning. Whoops, I guess I could wear it like this. But that feels big too. So I'd have to wrap it more than that, at least a couple of times. But it is pretty. I am happy with how the colors all turned out. Just give you another quick look while I talk about it. This first color here is Nitpick Stroll Tonal in the blue-violet tonal colorway. And then I added in this variegated green and purple. You can see it best in this, whoops, just, I've got it backwards. I think, oh, it's hard to tell. No, that's the right side. Just now that it's blocked, it looks different. This stripe here, that is Mama Llama Down Under Sock. And it's from the Color Co-op Club from January 2012. And then this, again, trying to make sure I have the right side showing. This is dark. That's got a little stripe in here and then runs along the bottom. That is Gloss Fingering from Nitpicks in the Kenai colorway. As I mentioned before, these colors to me are really reminiscent of Monet's Waterlilies. And so I am pleased to have a shawl that really does reflect the Impressionist theme. Having said that, it is very large and I don't know how much use I will get out of this. So this one might be gifted, or my mom is always looking for prizes or silent auction donations for a couple of different organizations she's involved in. And so perhaps what I will do is pass this along to her and she can do what she thinks is right with that one, use it where she can. It was definitely a pleasure to knit, so no regrets about knitting it at all. It's just a very large shawl that I just don't see myself really using, but someone else can. So another project that I did quite a bit on this week are the Magnolia Socks by Helen Stewart. Did I mention that the shawl, Impressionist shawl, was by Helen Stewart? If not, it is. It was a mystery knit along. Anyway, so this is my first Magnolia sock. This is the second sock in the Handmade Sock Society. And what I'm going to actually do is just turn this on the sock blocker so that you can get a better view of the front of the sock. Really lovely lace and twisted cable-y pattern there that runs down the front, and then as you can see, the back is all just stockinette stitch, very plain. So after you do all the work on the front, you get a little reprieve as you work your way around the back, and then start all over again. So yeah, so that's the first one, and I got the cuff cast on and the first pattern repeat done on sock number 2. So that's ready to keep working on, and the yarn, just a very kind of a rosy pink. It is Cherry Tree Hill Super Sock Solids in the Blossom colorway. So it seemed very fitting for this time of year. We see this color around a lot right now. A few days ago, I think I had just sort of finished working on that second Magnolia sock, and I just didn't feel like working on it anymore, but I didn't just want to do some plain knitting, and I ended up pulling out a project that I've had in hibernation for a long time, and I actually started this project 3 years ago, which seems crazy. I didn't think it had been that long. If you've been watching for a while, you will have seen this on the podcast at some point in the last year or so. But it is Celesterium by Audrey Nicklin. And here's a better look at it. This was a pattern that was in the Twist Collective from 2013. And it is a pie shawl, circular shawl, and is beaded in such a way that it charts the stars in the northern hemisphere, which just I thought was such a cool idea. I think there's one more picture that shows it pretty well. Just find that for you, yeah. Without giving any charts away. So I was about midway through the 5th chart when I pulled it out again, and I completed the 5th chart and I did my final increase. We're now close to 600 stitches going around the whole outer edge, and I've just started the 6th chart. I'm just going to see if I can read how many stitches I'm up to now. 500, I don't have my glasses, 576 stitches. So a round now takes a little longer than it used to. But I've been, because there are 8 charts for the last, 8 pages of charts for the last section, each 72 stitches wide. And so on the chart, I have divided it again into 36 stitch sections, and I've put markers every 10 row or every 10 stitches to mimic the graph paper that the chart is printed on. Plus, then I've marked the 36 stitch mark with that type of stitch marker, and then this marks the end of a chart, and then this one marks the beginning and end of the round. I use that one because I thought it kind of looked like a little planet. So that's definitely helps me keep track of my charts. I find it very easy. I just flip from chart to chart and mark them off as I go. And so I actually find it not too difficult to work on because it's just a stocking stitch, and then every so often you're doing making a little hole, yarn over, knit two together, and then the next row you add a bead where the knit two together stitch is. So I don't know if there's any good way to show this to you because of course it's on a circular needle, it's all bunched up. But it's coming along, and I also don't know how well these sparkly beads will show up as far as the sparkles go. They don't really seem to be glittering much when I'm looking at them on camera. Hopefully you can appreciate that they are very sparkly, and I think it's just going to be a stunning shawl when it's all finished. And it's a really fun one to work on just because you have stretches of plain knitting, and as I say, I'm finding it quite easy to follow the charts. Yeah, it's a lot of plain knitting, kind of interrupted by the occasional lacy bit or bead placement. So it's a good mix of simple but not just plain stockinette. And then when you finish this section, I think there's about 50. I think I have about 53 rows still to do in this section. I've literally just increased and done a couple. And then you do an applied edging when you're done. So I'm only actually probably only about a third of the way through because I have this much of my first skein remaining, and then I have 2 more. So this yarn is by Indigo Moon, which is a British Columbia dyer. And it's 100% blue-faced luster in the Midnight Song colorway. So it's not a really soft wool like a merino. It has a little bit of a tooth, but I like the way it feels. And I think when I block it, it will soften up a little bit more. Anyway, it's just a very tonal navy, as you can see. There's not a lot of variation, but you do see it. I don't know if you will on camera, but in the light, you can see some variation in the tones as you work with it. So, yeah, that was a really fun one to pull out. It was almost like starting a new project, but because I kept really good notes and such, it was easy just to pick up and start working on again. And I didn't feel guilty for casting on something new before I'd finished something else. Keep this in my penguin bag. I got this in Australia. We went to Phillip Island, where these little, I used to call them fairy penguins, now they call them little penguins, and every night they come up on the beach out of the water and go to their dens, and they have viewing stands that you can watch from. So that's a fun little bag. It was a really cool experience to see them. One of the highlights of our Australia trip. So I guess it was the week for working on long-term projects, I guess, or I think it's been at least a month and probably more. Jessica, my daughter, had for quite a while, I think she went through a period over 2 or 3 years, I think. I know for at least a year. She's been working on a sweater for her husband. It's the Cambridge Jacket by Anne Budd, which appeared in Interweave quite a few years ago. And she had finished the knitting a little while ago and sewed it all up. But she's not a very experienced machine sewer, and she asked if I would put the zipper in for her. And I'll be honest, I said I would, but it's not a job I was looking forward to at all. And I told her I needed a day when I had a big chunk of time, good lighting, and I had to be in the right frame of mind. So the perfect storm occurred yesterday, and I decided, okay, let's get this done. I hated every minute of it, I won't lie. And it took me all afternoon. I started after lunch and finished just before dinner. And I've only sewn, I think, twice before. I've put zippers in sweaters. One was a sweater for my husband. It was only like this long because it was just a little zip up pullover. So I haven't had a lot of experience with that myself. So I went online and I found a tutorial by Bon Marie Burns of Chic Knits, and I followed that. So her first instructions were to baste the front of the sweater closed, and then to lay the zipper on the inside, lay the zipper down and pin it in place, and then baste it, take out the basting. Sorry, let's start again. Baste the front of the sweater closed. Turn the sweater inside out, lay the zipper down the center seam. Then remove the basting stitch from the sweater and baste the zipper to the edges and then sew it on the machine if you chose, or hand sew it. So I had always planned to sew it by machine, and I did. The part that I found the most difficult and most frustrating was pinning the zipper in place so that it lay flat without any buckling once the sweater was in place, or pulling, because you have to find just that right amount of degree of, I guess, tension on your zipper. You don't want to have too much edging per zipper or you end up with that buckling effect. But if you stretch it or don't stretch enough, you end up with it pulls this way because it's too tight. So it took a long time, but I have to say I'm actually quite pleased with the results. And then I had to shorten the zipper because it ended up being too long. So then you got to try and make sure your edges are matching and that they're caught. So this is what the sweater looks like. It's a cardigan. Oops, there we go. So you can see it lays quite flat. I'm quite pleased with it. There's not a lot of buckling going on, and I know that Neil is never going to wear it, I'm sure, zipped right up to the top. I'm sure it will be worn more open, or if he's zipped it, it'll sit back like that. So, yeah, I didn't tell Jessica yesterday because I thought she'd probably want to come over and grab it right away, and I wanted to show it to you first. But I'm going to let her know that at long last it's done, and unfortunately it is really too warm now for Neil to wear it, but it's ready. So I had actually 2 gift certificates from Christmas burning a hole in my wallet, and I decided to make a trip down to Black Cat Yarns. That's one of our local yarn shops, and this shop is chock full of Black Cat custom yarn dyed right here in Chilliwack. So there were a couple of things I was looking for specifically, and then I just decided to browse. So one thing I did go with intention of buying is this colorway of Ancient Arts, their Meow collection, and this is the, what do they call it? Orange Tabby colorway. And they have a whole collection of yarns that are based on different breeds of cats and dogs, and a portion of the proceeds is donated to an animal charity. So I had knit my sister Jacqueline socks out of the Maine Coon colorway to represent her cat Sloopy. And they actually have 3 cats, and another of their cats is also a Maine Coon. And so their 3rd cat is an Orange Tabby. And I was debating whether to knit this yarn then another pair of socks for Jacqueline, or to knit a pair of socks for her husband, Ed, because their tabby, Misha, is kind of, I mean, their cats belong obviously to both of them, but Sloopy's kind of Jacqueline's cat and Misha's kind of Ed's cat. So I've decided I'm going to knit a pair of socks for Ed for his birthday, which is November, so I've got a long time to do it, but I decided, yeah, I was going to do it for Ed. So these will become socks for Ed. And then, pardon me, Jacqueline's birthday was last week, actually, or this past week. And they are coming out from Toronto in a few weeks. And so I knew I had until then to get any birthday gift ready for her. And I've been debating about whether to knit her a pair of socks or to knit her like a little small shawlette. And so I decided to do that. And I picked up this yarn with her in mind. It's, as you can see, Black Cat Custom yarn, and this is their Blingtron 400, which has 84% superwash merino and 16% silver stellina. It doesn't show up quite as well in this colorway, I guess because it's really dark. But this is the Widowmaker colorway. So I am in the process of trying to narrow down ideas for to cast this on. I'm not sure which pattern I'm going to use yet, but these are definitely Jacqueline's colors, and she, I know she will use something like this, and she likes a little bling. So that I got for her. But I did spend money on myself too, because they were my gift certificates after all. So I picked up another skein of this Blingtron, and you can see, I think, or I know I can see definitely better the stellina in this one. I don't know if it's catching it or not. Oh yeah, I can see here that you can see the glitter. This is the Frost Wall colorway. So I'm not sure exactly what this will be, but I just kept coming back to it. I just think the colors are really pretty, and it looks very icy with the stellina in it. So that was my thought there. So there's no nylon, so I probably wouldn't do socks. I will probably do some kind of cowl or small shawl for myself too. And then because I enjoyed working pardon me, with the Storytime Fibers Once Upon a Sock so much, I decided to get another skein. This is an exclusive yarn to Black Cat, and it's dyed by the people of the Mineville Wool Company. Is that what it is, Mineville? Not sure if it says actually on here. No, it just says it's exclusively available from Black Cat. So this is the Puck colorway. And I just think it's fun with the kind of, you probably knit up similar to the Titania colorway, which is, I'm looking at the socks right there. So I'm just going to go grab them so you get a sense of how this, I think, is going to knit up. These are my Titania socks from the same yarn. So I suspect that it will probably knit up in a fairly similar way, kind of stripy like that, just with the way the yarn has been dyed. So these may even be my next stockinette socks, just because I'm anxious to see how it knits up. So yeah, so that was my purchase. And then Kim, the owner, has these little kind of backpack style bags, and I was lucky enough to get one. Yeah, it was fun to do a little yarn shopping, and you know, having gift certificates makes it kind of fun because you aren't spending your own money, so you don't feel like you have to justify the purchase or make it really practical. And so while a little bit of my gift certificates went towards gifts for other people, the bulk of it went for gifts for me, so that was cool. Okay, and then, pardon me, I've been continuing to read Hercule Poirot's Christmas by Agatha Christie, and I'm very close to the end now. I was reading it last night in bed, and I just couldn't stay awake finish it, but we're getting close to solving the mystery. So I have some ideas. Probably they'll be totally wrong as usual, but to me there's been some pretty obvious clues about the identity of one of these characters that nobody seems to have put their finger on, other than I'm pretty sure Hercule Poirot. So I'm anxious to see what happens when people figure out who that person really is. At least I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. I'll let you know if I'm right. So not tons going on this week. Not worth getting into anyway. So our friend who does all our carpentry work, he came by Friday, and he and I went outside and looked at the backyard and started getting some ideas of what our new deck out there will look like. And he's got a very good eye for design, and I know I want a deck. I know approximately where I want it to go, but I don't have what it takes to draw it out or really see it. And very quickly he started, drawing things out on paper, and then it all just fell into place. So I can, just from a few little drawings on a piece of paper, I can have a better sense of what this new deck is going to look like. So quite excited now that I can envision it. I can't wait till it gets started. So now we're just in the actual drawing out and pricing out stage, but I'm hoping we can start soon. So even though we don't have the new deck yet, that didn't stop us from going furniture shopping on the weekend. All the different stores have their outdoor furniture on display right now, and it just seemed like a really good time to shop. We just didn't want to leave it to the end or middle of summer and then end up missing out. So we went out on Sunday to a few different stores and sat on a lot of couches and chairs, and we kept finding that we might like how the chair felt sitting in, but then we didn't like the way the love seat felt when you sat on it, because they weren't always shaped the same. But we did finally find a set that we were really happy with, and so they didn't have it in stock in the color cushions that we wanted, so we did come home and order it. So we're actually expecting part of that to arrive today, so might get interrupted by a delivery, but I'm almost done, so maybe not. So we did that, and then we want to replace our upstairs. We have a deck upstairs that has an outdoor table and chairs and umbrella on it, but it's that set is getting old, and one of the chairs is split, and it's time for a replacement. And so we actually did find a new set, so we have it downstairs. It's not assembled yet. This weekend we're going to take the old furniture off the deck and give it a really good scrubbing, as we always do at the beginning of the outdoor season, the warm weather season. So that's the plan, is to get that deck cleaned up and get the new furniture, table and chairs anyway, assembled and put out, so we'll be all set for the warm weather. Unfortunately, the other stuff is just going to have to wait until the new deck is finished downstairs, but that's good. I'm happy to find a set that we were both really happy with, and yeah, didn't miss out on it. So I think, yeah, that's probably the most exciting stuff that is going on around here. My son is still trying to find a place to live. He put an offer on another place that he was very hopeful about, but did not get. And so, yeah, it's been a little stressful. He's had that, and then his car that was hit a couple of weeks ago was in the body shop. And then he got a call the other day to say the damage was more extensive than they'd first estimated, and that they were writing the car off. And so now he has to go by, figure out his settlement from the insurance company and go find a new car. So And then he has his motorcycle had been in the shop over the winter, and he went to get it, and the mechanic lost his motorcycle seat. I have no idea how that happens, but he's ordered him a new one, and so he can't even go riding to work off some of the stress. So he had kind of a tough weekend, but he's bouncing back up. It was just too much for him. It was just everything seemed to be going wrong. So hopefully some things will, his luck will turn around, and he can find a place and find a decent car and get his bike back. He's really itching to get it back, especially with this really nice sunny weather. It's perfect for riding a motorcycle. I have to say, I'm not crazy about the fact that he rides a motorcycle, but I just don't dwell on it. It's not that I don't think he's a good driver. I'm sure he is. I always just think that if you're on a bike, you're just that much more vulnerable if you do get hit. But I just try not to dwell on that, because he's an adult. That's his choice. So Mom doesn't get to say anything about that at this stage of the game. Anyway, yeah, I think that's it. I am going to get this uploading on my computer while I have a bit of lunch. It's just about 20 to 1 here. So hopefully the delivery comes soon. Possibly our friend is coming by with some plans and an estimate. Possibly this afternoon. He was going to be somewhere else this morning, busy this morning. So I don't know for sure if he's coming. So hopefully I can get this all edited and uploaded before that happens. So this should go up tonight, by tonight. If not, tomorrow morning. But it won't make much difference to you. You'll see it when you see it. So anyway, have yourselves a great week. Thank you as always for watching, and thank you as always for your kind comments. Yeah, have a great week. Take care. Happy knitting and all that jazz. And I'll see you next week.